So in our last video, we inherited a lot of LED panels and I just kind of breezed over them. But today, we're going to go into depth of all these LED panels. So before, I've already owned a couple of LED panels. Professionally, I've worked with many of LED panels throughout the ages, from the Qihe Flow Celeb to the Airy Sky panel to the light panels themselves, and the Dracast is what I personally own in my kit, to these used LED panels that I bought just recently. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of look at all of these LED panels and if I actually got any benefit purchasing these new LED panels. Okay, so I've owned the Dracast for a few years now. They are not the brightest panels in the world. So primarily, these are going to be studio lights, something in a dark condition, not something I'm going to use with a lot of windows and things like that, unless I'm modifying the windows with like trace paper or light grid or some kind of ND filters or anything like that. I have been able to match in previous documentaries the inside with the outside, but that's also got to do with the dynamic range of my Blackmagic cameras. Since they are 13 to 14 stops of dynamic range, I'm able to get the detail shooting outside a window with these LED panels, but they're just not going to be bright. They're going to work for a good interview setup or content creators or things like that. All these little LED panels here are going to work great for you in that environment. These are all actually bi-color panels. So the Dracast is the Qihe 1000. This is the older Qihe 1000 model. It's got a different DMX, which is more like an Ethernet style DMX cable. They've been great. I do think they have some color variances on them, even though all these companies are going to claim that this is a CRI plus 95 color LED bulbs, but I don't think they're quite accurate. I think there is some green within these LEDs, but what we'll do is we'll pull down a white backdrop and we'll take a look at that later. Also, you would think like this 2000 LED, 100 watt 2000 LEDs, Qihe 2000. I think I said Qihe 1000, but this is the Qihe 2000B, Qihe 2000B bicolor panel. I think if you looked at all of these, even this is a 100 watt. This is a 75 watt. I think the power output is pretty even between all of these. This is probably more on the 2000, since this is a used panel here. This is probably more in the 2000 LED range. These seem to be about the same size without counting every single LED in the panel. I'm not going to do. But the wattage is different. That's a 75 watt. This is 100 watt. And these two over here are 100 watts. This one hiding behind this guy, it's doing this light back there, is 100 watt. So all about relatively the same. If I take out my light meter, they're all going to measure roughly the same. at the same distance. It's going to be the same f-stop, so none of these are more powerful than the other. Color variances is going to be the biggest thing, how much green or magenta you're going to get out of these LED panels, even though these, I'm going to pronounce this Qihe, Qihe, these Qihe panels from China. They make some LEDs and some strobe lights. Actually, I get the strobe lights used in that package deal as you saw in the video before. Same company. They're okay. They're very simple panel lights. This is something, again, I can use for YouTube, creating content, interview stuff, documentary stuff. I can do that when I'm running around. These are not going to be my main go-to lighting panels, because also if I'm matching colors, it's going to be a nightmare matching some daylight outside to some green light inside. I don't really want to have to deal with that. You can always get some leaf filters and a color meter and see how much color, but when you start adding filters onto this, you start taking away some light. You lose probably half a stop, maybe more, depending on how much green. If you're doing like an 1/8 plus or 1/8 minus green, then it'll probably be less of a difference between, like, maybe you gotta put full green on. If it's full green, that's gonna take like a lot of your light away, probably a stop or two, stop and a half, 2 stops. Another thing is since they're all bicolor, you can use all the LED lights in them. So if you do need more color, if you do need more light out of them, another stop of light or something, you can turn these up to a 4400 color temperature, and then you'll get maybe another half stop to a stop. I'm not really exactly sure, but let's say we do that. Let's say this is 5.6, 5.67, 5.68, something like that. Now it's a 5.64. Not really getting a whole lot out of that. No, it's a stop. It's a stop there. So I got an 8 out of it. So got a little bit less than a stop, three quarters of a stop. Let's say that. So you do get more light if you go in the 4400 range, like that. These panels, again, are very basic. They do have a fan on them. Keep them cool. It's pretty loud fan. It's not going to be great in interview situations if you have to use the fan. I've been trying them out without the fan to see if there's any issues. Maybe if you have these a very hot studio, which my studio is not very hot since it's a lot of LEDs around the studio, you might want to utilize that fan. Oh, it looks like I got missing one LED there. Just noticed that, but moving on. I've been running these without the fan because I don't want the added noise, because they are pretty loud. These 2 panels over here do not have fans. They are all some kind of metal, aluminum-ish enclosing. That's probably going to keep these LED panels much cooler than some kind of plastic or something else. So there's probably no real reason to utilize the fan. These Qihe 1x1s, I'm gonna call them 1x1. They're probably 1 foot by 1 foot LED panel. These guys only operate off a DC input AC power situation. They did have some batteries, some big brick batteries here that I'm using. I'm actually using this on the Dracast. Just checking everything out to see like, oh, like this can use a V-mount battery. These do not have V-mount batteries on them, V-mount battery attachments. So it's either brick or AC power. But fortunately, these battery bricks here that came with these Qihe lights work on my Dracast. So that was pretty good benefit. Also, the power adapters work the same on these two lights, which was also a benefit because one of these power adapters were broken. Used, you get what you get. I'll probably end up having to buy a new power adapter there. This guy did, as you can see here, does have a V-mount battery on it and AC power, which is beneficial. So I think that's enough about that. Like these are not as sophisticated as the Dracast with the DMX, like I said, in the different modes and master mode, slave mode, things like that. I think it also has a wireless remote that I've never used, or an app that I never downloaded and used. One day I should download that app and use it with it. But this is really about all these LED panels and not so much just about this Dracast LED panel. It's just a comparison of something I spent $150. No, let me do the math, because I bought these in China. So they were a set of 2 for 3,000 kwai, or RMB or yuan. That's all forms of Chinese dollars. And that translates roughly to $450 for 2 of them. So they were about $225 each, which is not a terrible price for a cheap LED panel. Quality was pretty good, but I bought this before Nanlite and Aputure were coming out with their things. So I went with a company that I've actually used before professionally and would probably use again, because when the price is right, the price is right, yeah. Now they all also have barn doors, which is pretty nice. And these are not able to be taken off, but this company, I believe you can take the barn doors off if you wanted to, very simply. These, you would have to unscrew everything to take the barn doors off, so not gonna fool with that. And these Dracast have just a couple of screws here, over there, that you can take off real quickly if you wanted to get rid of the barn doors for some reason. It's beneficial if you're going to throw it through a 4x4 diffusion or a 2x3 diffusion or something like that. So if you want to get rid of the doors, you can. But with that, it's going to cause light leaks out the side. Not like these are very leaky lights, but they will cause some light leak out the side there if you take the doors off. That requires set flags and other things like that if you're a really big person that's really concerned about light leaks, like I am. So I think that's just a good rundown of the fact that, hey, I got some used LED panels that were usable, and talking about the last video we did where we went through all those used LED panels. Yeah, so with that, let's just kind of see them on a white background and see the color. So if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, do all those things. And if you didn't like the video, hit the like button and subscribe and do all that stuff. And we'll see you in the next video and run down some more used gear that I bought. Later.